No, it was a real gun, man. It was just a revolver.
It's no secret that criminal interrogations tend to be frustrating and terrifying. While many result in the suspect admitting guilt, there are several cases where things did not go as planned, leaving everyone involved in the interrogation shocked to their cores. Today, we examine and analyze an incredibly astounding interrogation in which reality takes a detour, a roller coaster ride of odd occurrences and unexpected turns, which includes a detective refusing to understand or believe the story being told to a suspect whose alibi is as baffling as the crime itself.
Yes.
This does not make sense, Ryan.
Here is the strangest interrogation I've ever seen: the case of Ryan Waller. In 2006, a Christmas Day tragedy took place in Arizona, resulting in a surprising and disturbing sequence of events. 21-year-old Heather Kwan and her 18-year-old boyfriend Ryan Waller had inexplicably vanished only 2 days earlier during a movie night. Concerned family would report their disappearance, causing the Phoenix Police Department to conduct a welfare check at Ryan's apartment. When the police entered the residence, they would be met with a nightmarish scene. Heather was dead on the couch, the victim of a gunshot wound to the head. When they found Ryan alive but untidy, the grim discovery took an even more strange turn. His behavior would quickly prompt suspicion despite the fact that he was conscious, able to move, and vocal, adding a disturbing element to the already terrible circumstance. The events of that sad day had marked a significant and perplexing turning point in the lives of the victims and their families. During the initial contact, the police noticed Ryan's unusual behavior, which included inconsistent and evasive responses. Concerned about the irregularities, they then decided to arrest him and transfer him to the police station for additional questioning. The subsequent questioning session tape would reveal the repercussions of the tragic events that occurred on that Christmas day. In the footage, Ryan's face is severely bruised, and he emanates an irritated and bewildered mood as he awaits questioning. His small moans puncture the hushed symphony of discomfort that takes place in the questioning chamber, his fumbling with the metal links of his handcuffs demonstrating his restlessness. Seeking peace, he then tries to find solace by resting his head on the table, each motion fraught with tension, only adding to the mystery that surrounded the interrogation room. The footage captured a mystery surrounding his involvement in the intriguing and sad events, leaving many questions unanswered.
Pull up the slots. There you go. Is that good enough for you, Paul? That'd be fine. Okay, lift them up a little bit. There you go. And I want 2 more swabs. If you can see those. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Move this one towards, there you go.
No, I'm going the other one.
Oh, okay. Move that one out. Move this one out. There you go.
Man, I just want to go to sleep.
That will happen sooner or later.
Ryan's restlessness grows stronger as the time goes by, revealing a subtle dance of impatience. He continuously gets up from his seat, only to sit back down again. A strange shift occurs as a new character enters the picture and aims a camera at Ryan's feet. The interrogation takes a stranger turn when, after a long silence, Ryan's voice breaks, expressing that he just wanted to go to sleep. This sentence, which upon first hearing does not invoke any kind of suspicion, really bears significant weight and demands attention to the developing story. Ryan's concerned about his future and wants reassurance that he'll go back home. However, the uncertainty remains. The remark becomes evasive, creating a tension that can be felt in the air. When a physician is brought into conversation, things take an unexpected turn. In this confusing circumstance, the solution continues to elude just as much as the truth. After looking at the bruises on his face, the police are at a point where they can only speculate about what occurred. Did he have a fight with Heather? And did that fight end up having catastrophic consequences, whether on purpose or by accident? It is possible that Heather had resorted to extreme measures in an effort to defend herself, but it's also possible that Ryan's mental instability had played a part, leading to her inflicting injuries upon herself. Uncertainty permeates in the air of the room, and Ryan's anger can be felt through the table from his position.
So I'm going to read you something to make sure you understand your rights, okay? He's coming to read. You've seen Cops before, right? Ever seen a TV show Cops or CSI or anything like that?
Okay.
You ever seen that?
No.
You've never seen any kind of cop show? Lawyer show? Any kind of show?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to listen up real close now. Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to the presence of an attorney to assist you prior to questioning and be with you during questioning if you so desire.
Going forward, the focus is brought even more squarely onto Ryan's actions. His behavior emerges as the primary focus, suggesting an inner anguish that is beyond explanation. His remark, which is shrouded in ambiguity, comes as the investigator makes the first move in closing the comprehension gap. He then utters the words, "I don't know what happened," which in itself is a sentence that's riddled in ambiguity. It's a moment that perfectly captures the essence of the mystery, which can be thought of as a jigsaw with parts that are missing and for which neither Ryan nor the detectives seem to have the ability to provide an answer. It's at this stage, when the seriousness of the problem is beginning to become more apparent, that the investigator is going to repeat his rights so that everything is crystal clear. However, it's followed by a bizarre query, as if an effort were being made to root Ryan in the actual world. The detective asks Ryan if he's ever been in this situation before, and if he has seen television shows that revolve around it. The reaction is a peculiar denial of responsibility. Ryan's assertion that he's never seen a single episode of any police program casts an odd shade over the sense of familiarity that one would anticipate under such a circumstance.
What's the highest grade you went through school?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know the highest grade you went through?
Eighth?
Eighth grade? Did you graduate?
Yeah.
Do you have a GED?
I don't know.
You don't know what?
I don't know.
The already tense situation suddenly takes an unexpected turn. A straightforward query is posed by the investigator, who marks the beginning of a peculiar stretch of suspense. The investigator is now confused, wondering if Ryan is really stunned by the events, or whether he's so confused that even the most fundamental of questions are slipping his mind. The investigator wonders whether Ryan's anger is due to the early morning hours, or if there was something else going on outside of what was taking place. He's persistent since he's unsure of what Ryan may be trying to hide, and asks him again whether or not he has a girlfriend.
Do you have a girlfriend? No? You know a girl named Heather?
Mm-hmm.
You know Heather's last name?
Mm-hmm.
What is Heather's last name?
The one that lives there right now?
I guess, I don't know. If her name's Heather, what's her last name?
I don't know which name she's trying to use as her last one. She's trying to have a real last as her nickname, so I don't know.
What nickname does she go by?
She probably wants the last name, Kyman.
Kyman? How would you spell that? With a K or a C?
K.
Ryan gives the impression that he does not know Heather very well by referring to her by a surname that he's not acquainted with and by rambling about her using a variety of nicknames. He makes several oblique allusions to the fact that she lives there. The investigator becomes puzzled by his casual tone when he talks about Heather, particularly in light of the fact that he was the last person seen with her and that she was found dead in his apartment.
How old is Heather?
16 or 17.
As the discussion continues on, the investigator is forced to take a more direct approach and straight up ask him about what actually happened in their home, since it's becoming more difficult to understand what's being said.
How did you meet Heather?
I've known her.
Despite the fact the discussion is beginning to make some progress, it still needs to be more connected and predictable. At first, Ryan had portrayed very little awareness of her existence or the fact that she was even dead. However, it now looked as though even mentioning her would take him by surprise. The conversation is then about to take yet another unexpected tangent at the moment when things seem to be moving in a certain way.
Who's Christine?
She's on the couch.
Christina's on the couch? What's Christina's last name?
I don't know.
What does she look like?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
I really don't.
A new name then emerges of Christina. The detective is going over paperwork, looking through the case notes to see if there's any mention of a female with that name, and even Ryan does not have a good grasp on what exactly Christina is or what she was engaged in.
Do you know Alicia?
The investigator shakes his head, giving the impression that he doesn't believe Ryan's strange story, suggesting that he's quite skeptical. The tale as it is developing is difficult to understand. The presence of Christina in the flat, if it can be shown to have occurred, has the potential to change the path of the investigation. However, there needs to be more clarity at that point in time. In order to investigate the matter further, the investigator questions Ryan about Alicia, indicating that she lives at his residence. It's surprising that Ryan doesn't respond at all, and after that, when questioned about Eric, Ryan gives a yes response, despite the fact that he has a hard time recalling Eric's last name. The relentless probing unearths a complicated network of links and occurrences, which only adds another layer of suspense to the ongoing inquiry.
And Christina was on the couch?
Heather was.
It's at that point that it may be reasonable to wonder how Ryan could easily claim a memory loss about the events of that night, particularly if he was the one who ended his girlfriend's own life. The question that must be asked is, why didn't he come up with a cover story that was even more logical? It could be possible that Ryan's criminal behavior was being influenced by the use of drugs, which also likely contributed to his disorganized state of mind. And if you were the investigator, how plausible would you find it if Ryan said he was unaware of what happened in his own home the night before? Ryan continuously underlines his lack of recall, exhibiting a strong desire to go to sleep when he's questioned about the significant portion of his nose that was gone when it was brought to his attention.
Didn't even do anything. I just want to go to sleep.
You remember what time this happened?
Something then strange happens at that point in the interrogation room.
I don't know.
Do you know Eric's girlfriend?
Yeah,
What's her name?
Heather.
Ryan then says that Heather is Eric's girlfriend, and at that point the detective becomes really confused. Ryan again claims that Heather is his girlfriend.
You're saying that's Eric's girlfriend?
Uh-uh.
Or your girlfriend?
Heather?
Yeah.
Mine.
The comments are becoming more and more confusing, and Ryan needs to be more knowledgeable of the significant changes that are occurring in his story. Additionally, there's the distinct impression that he could not even remember or be aware that Heather is no longer alive, which is practically verified in the words that he says next.
There's a dead girl in your living room.
She's dead?
Yes.
And that's when a massive and unexpected twist takes place, which baffles the detective even more. And Ryan is only now remembering that two people allegedly came to his house with guns. And suddenly, everything goes from 0 to 100 in a moment's notice. The detective face conveys a range of emotions which include surprise, shock, and even terror. According to Ryan, at first the female caught him by surprise and pokes him in the eye. It was at that moment that two men armed with firearms would burst in and begin firing at the couple. In spite of the fact that the unfolding circumstances are not clear, the detective is now on high alert. At a crucial juncture, Ryan makes a statement that puts the integrity of the entire investigation into question. And what follows next becomes incredibly crucial. And with that stunning set of facts, is Ryan's story to be believed? Is he speaking the truth? And if you were the detective in the situation, would you believe his story? This is the first time that he's ever mentioned someone named Richie or his father, and he's not sure what to make of it, but Ryan really begins to break down after that.
What happened with you and Heather last night?
Her dad came and shot the house.
It becomes quite evident that the detective had not put much stock in Ryan's most recent account up to that point. This is particularly the case when taking into account the claim of getting shot in the eye and surviving only a few hours later, which looks to be very unlikely. However, when Ryan continues to respond in a puzzling way and displays even more erratic behavior, the investigator eventually comes to the conclusion he has to examine Ryan's injuries in further detail.
Oh, my head hurts.
After this quick withdrawal, the man returns with a completely new approach. He informs Ryan that someone is going to check on him to make sure that he's okay.
Yeah, we're going to take you to the hospital.
Why?
Well, if you've seen your face...
Ryan then restates his description of the incident while they wait for aid, emphasizing the wish to sleep after becoming shot in the eye. Then others enter the room to conduct a more in-depth examination of Ryan. The investigator says something along the lines of, "You're not going to believe this," indicating a disbelief at the events that are taking place. As a result of seeing his condition, it's now abundantly clear that his conduct is consistent with that of a person who is suffering from a severe brain injury. The pieces of this convoluted puzzle begin to fit together, which hints at an unanticipated explanation. Ryan had suffered a head wound from the gunshot, and the discovery raised worries regarding the absence of prompt medical assistance during his detainment and questioning, which may have caused possibly irreversible brain damage over the course of the 6-hour period. Ryan's narrative of Richie and his father breaking into the house and shooting him is completely accurate, in spite of the fact that Ryan's disability has caused his memory to be inconsistent.
Okay.
It's after this fact that Ryan learns that his transportation to the hospital has arrived, and the way he gets up and walks out without incident proves that he's not a cold-blooded criminal. He's simply an innocent person who is both bewildered and terrified. There are few stories in the domain of human suffering that unfold with the same depth of misery and trauma as Ryan's. A young man who has somehow survived one of the most mentally and physically excruciating ordeals imaginable. Ryan had gone 6 hours without medical treatment after being shot in the face twice. The sterile surroundings of a hospital are where the narrative of Ryan's experience gets underway. He's rushed to an intensive care unit where he's presented with a situation that poses significant risk to his life. As his family waits for word, the likelihood of doubt becomes larger, casting a shadow over any hope of them being reunited with their son. In the aftermath of a long surgery, Ryan had to have a piece of his brain removed, and both of his eyes were irrevocably damaged. It's beyond the scope of common knowledge how severe his condition was, on both a mental and physical level. The disclosure of the facts that led to Ryan's torture is upsetting, as well as illuminating. The Arizona Independent Daily reported that despite his injuries, he showed an impressive amount of bravery by naming his attackers as Richie Carver and his father Larry. The perpetrators were eventually apprehended, which was a step in the right direction, but it hardly scratched the surface of the horrifying events that took on after that. The plot of revenge and hatred began to take shape as motivations behind the heinous actions became more clear. Richie Carver was said to have been Ryan's alleged former roommate, had reportedly stoked a hostility that ultimately led to the deployment of armed security personnel. The argument between them that led to Richie being kicked out of the flat they shared was a contributing factor in the unfortunate series of events that had transpired on that day. Richie and his father descended on the house, where Ryan and his girlfriend Heather had sought refuge, the duo's actions being fueled by a desire for vengeance, which was shrouded in their goals in a toxic mixture of rage and bitterness. According to reports, a previous fight between the pair had laid the ground for the disaster that followed. Driven by a misplaced desire for vengeance, the intruders attempted to enter the house, resulting in a violent conflict. Richie used a .22 caliber revolver to fire a shot directly into Ryan's head in an act of unbridled savagery. The subsequent chaos caused the attackers to assume that by taking Heather's life, they had eliminated any potential witnesses. And Ryan's fate in the days afterwards would be agonizing, as investigators had to do their job thoroughly. In the aftermath of the incident, Richie Carver would face the consequences of his actions. He was sentenced to life in prison after being convicted of multiple crimes, including aggravated assault and burglary. However, the plot took an unexpected turn when it came to Richie's father, Larry. The prosecution against him was withdrawn abruptly, a decision ascribed to Larry's wife's invocation of marital privilege, who stubbornly refused to testify against her own husband. The legal development had galvanized Heather's family to push for justice, resulting in the passage of Heather's Law, an amendment intended to make an exception to the marital communication privilege, allowing one spouse to disclose information to law enforcement about their partner's involvement in a grave criminal act. Despite all of the legal challenges, the family had been successful in applying the statute retroactively to Larry Carver's case, and that resulted in his re-indictment in 2011. Even though Ryan and his family were vindicated in a court of law, The mental and financial toll that the ordeal took on them would be enormous. Ryan was fortunate enough to escape the terrible attack alive, but was left blind, suffering from severe convulsions and continuing medical concerns as a result. The psychological wounds that were inflicted on his family persisted and made worse by the aggravation brought on by the tardy response of the authorities, who at first had considered Ryan to be a perpetrator rather than a victim. The Waller family's channel on YouTube offers a horrifying peek into the facts of Ryan's injuries, which are both upsetting and disturbing, and even though he had managed to survive the assault, the severity of his physical injuries revealed the prolonged agony he had been experiencing. A seizure brought on by the gunshot wounds was given as the cause of death by Ryan's father when he discussed the tragic circumstances surrounding his son's passing. Ryan and Heather's story is a tragic reminder of the tremendous and long-lasting consequences of violence on individuals and families, raising important considerations regarding the legal system's effectiveness, the responsiveness of law enforcement, and the need for legislative steps to ensure justice is delivered. Their narrative demonstrates the fragility of life and the long-term ramifications of senseless actions of violence, emphasizing the importance of societal reflection and collective efforts to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future.